Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk, and this is what I've been making today. I was inspired to make this by this DSP, this paper here, because these happy little frogs made me think of the phrase "as mad as a box of frogs." If you haven't come across that one before, that is a way that we would describe somebody who is crazy but in a good way. And I wanted to make a box of frogs. More accurately, it's a box of frog, alright, because I could only fit one of those in there. Now I'm just going to say that the first part of this tutorial today explains how I calculated the size of box I was going to need and how much card I was going to need for it. If you're not interested in that, if you skip ahead to this point, that will take you straight into the supplies and the how I made it. Okay, but otherwise stay with me and I will show you how I made this. So I got this cute little guy from Amazon, and he's a little ornament that's got a little bit sticky on the bottom, and then you put him on the edge of the shelf or peeping over the top of your computer monitor, wherever you fancy him. Actually, he's very cheerful, very jovial, and I want a nice little box for him because I'm going to give him as a gift. So I'm going to start by putting him down on my grid paper, and I'm just going to mark where his toes come to, and I'm going to mark where his bottom is, and I'm going to mark where his elbows come to. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a straight line that touches on his toes, and another one that touches his bottom, and then I'm going to join those two lines with one that goes through that elbow and one line that goes through that elbow. So that, if I made a box that size with a base that size, he would exactly fit inside it. But we want to give him a little bit of wiggle room because you know, we want to be able to put him in and out. So let's add about 1/8 of an inch on either side. You know, and we may change our minds about some of this. That's a very big 1/8 of an inch, isn't it? You know, we may round down or round up to make life easy for ourselves, but this is what we'll start with. So just lining up with the line that I drew, and just draw my pencil on. Okay. Alright, so if I make a box with a base that size, that's going to be plenty of room for the little frog. You can go in kind of that way. Yeah, and plenty of room if I want to wrap him up in some bubble wrap or something like that to keep him safe. So, okay, so now I'm going to measure these lines. So this comes to 3 3/8. And yeah, 1 2 3/8. Just double checking myself. So that's the width of the box, and the depth of the box is going to be, you know what, we're going to make life easy for ourselves and we're going to call it 2 inches. Okay, now he's not flat, all right, so he needs something, he needs some height to his box. So I'm going to stand my ruler up behind him, and I've got a piece of card, and I'm sorry that this isn't going to be very easy for you to see, but he's 1 7/8 of an inch tall. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm resting my bit of cardboard on his head, and I'm just seeing where it comes onto the ruler, so we'll call that 2 inches. So now I'm going to build my net. So this is 3 3/8 of an inch, and this is 2 inches, and then on here I'm going to have a side that is going to be 2 inches that way. Okay, so same thing over here. I need a side that is going to be 2 inches that way. So for the width of my card, so the dimension that way, I'm going to need a piece of card that is 2 inches and 3 3/8 of an inch, which is 5 3/8 of an inch, and another 2 inches, which is going to be 7 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and I'm going to score it at 2 inches from that side and 2 inches from that side. Okay, so now the up and down dimension. So for the front of the card, okay, I'm going to need a box that is 2 inches that way, because that's the depth. You know, that's going to need to meet that. 3 3/8 of an inch that way. Okay, sorry, I'm getting confused again. So 2 inches that way, and yeah, so this one is 2 inches, and I'm going to need another one there that is 2 inches. I'm getting confused here. I'm trying to do things twice. So that's 2 inches, and this is 2 inches, and that's 2 inches. Now I want my box to have a lid as well. So I'm going to need another piece that's 2 inches that way, because it's going to have to come over this piece, and I want it to have a flap to tuck in, so that's going to be 1/2 an inch. So what I have now is 2, 4, 6, 8, 8.5 inches. So that will fit in inside a piece of A4. So that is how big I'm going to cut the box for my cheeky little frog. Here's what I'm going to be using. I've got some garden green card. I've got here's what I'm going to be using to make the little box. I have garden green card, that's going to be the base of my box, and I have some granny apple green as well, a bit of pumpkin pie, this paper, which is absolutely covered in frogs, and it's what kind of gave me the idea in the first place, and this is from the Toil and Trouble DSP pack. I am going to use the Fox Builder punch. I've got 2 small circle punches. I've got a 1/4 of an inch and a 3/8 of an inch circle punch. I may need others, I don't know yet. We shall see how we get along. I've got a little scrap of Whisper White, and I have a scrap of Well Loved Basic Black. Now this piece has got some self-adhesive sheet stuck onto the back of it, so I'm going to be using this because the glue is already on it, and it's going to make my life a great deal easier. Okay, so there may be some other things that I use as I go along, but those I think are the things that mainly I'm going to be using. The stamps I'm going to use are from the Thoughtful Banners set, and I'm using Garden Green ink, and I'm also using the Duet Banner punch. Now that I've measured the frog and I know how big I want my box to be, I have cut my card to the measurements I need, which are 7 3/8 by 8.5 inches. So I'm on the 7 3/8 of an inch side, and I'm going to make a score line at 2 inches. And I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to score it again at 2 inches. And on the long side, I am going to score it at 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches. I'm going to burnish my card, burnish my creases, so I can see what I am doing. all my creases sharpened. Now I'm going to start chopping away the 3, 2, 1. So there are all my creases nicely sharpened, and I'm going to start chopping away the pieces that I don't want to keep. Now I need to keep this side, this side, this side, this side and this side, and I need parts of these flaps, but I don't need any of these pieces here. So I'm going to start by chopping those away. One, chop right into it and chop that bit right away. So on these pieces I'm going to, let me see, I want to keep about half of that, so I'm just going to chop that away, and I'm just going to chop into those. Same on this one, keep about half of it. And chop into those pieces. So same here, I want to keep about half of it. Just tidy up those edges. And last time. So again, down to the fold, keep about half of it, and so this is what I'm left with, and I'm going to just cut that end piece at an angle, so it's going to fold up kind of like this. And then that's going to tuck inside there, I hope. That in there, and that in there. And because it's always easier to decorate your box while it's flat, I've gone ahead and I've cut a couple of strips of the frog paper, and I've cut them 1 3/4 of an inch wide, and then from that strip I cut 2 squares of 1 3/4 of an inch, and 3 pieces that were 3 1/8 of an inch. I needed 2 strips of midi SP to do it, and I've got that left over. So now I'm going to use my 1/2 inch punch, and I'm just going to kind of do this by eye. I'm just going to nick a little piece out of there, just so that it makes it easier to open the box when it's finished. And with my liquid adhesive, I am going to assemble my box. So I'm going to bring up my edges, and I have a mini clothes peg here. Paper clip will do. If you haven't got any of these were in Stampin' Up's catalogue a few years ago, and they retired. And I was sad to see them go, because they are very cute. And they're also quite useful. And I've got glue on my fingers, so I shall wipe it off there. And bring these 2 pieces up and hold them closed with the mini clothes pegs, or clothes pins, depending on what part of the world you come from. And so I'm just going to leave that on one side for the glue to dry, while I work on the embellishment. I've got the little frog sitting in front of me for a model, and I've got the Fox Builder punch, and I'm going to start by punching out all of the pieces in the garden green, and I'm also going to punch them out in the granny apple green. I'm not worrying too much about that tail piece, because I'm not going to be using it. Okay, so that piece is a little bit small. Yeah, get that out. And let me see. I think I want another one of the mask pieces in the granny apple green. I might want it, I might not want it. I'll cut it out just in case. And I've got the pumpkin pie here, and my frog has got orange feet, so I'm going to punch out 2 of those pieces in 2 of the little, it's the tip of the fox's tail it is. So I'm going to start with the frog's head, and I'm going to do a little bit of surgery on the on what is supposed to be the fox's head, but it's going to be a frog's head today. So I'm going to chop his ears off. It's alright. He didn't feel a thing, and I'm just going to round off the edges of that shape there, just so that it's not quite so sharp. Okay, so that's going to be my frog's head. It's going to go on to my frog's body. Okay, which is actually a fox's body, but it's going to be a frog's body. Alright. So now this piece is going to be his legs, and I'm just going to snip them in half because I want them at a slightly different angle to the way that they are when they're joined together. I did try making one where I just kind of used them at the angle that they're already at, but it didn't look right. It just looked a bit strange. So it is what it is. And I'm sticking this to the body of the frog with the bit that I snipped at the bottom. Okay, but that might be a little bit too much, so I'm going to pick up one of the orange pieces, the pumpkin pie pieces that were tail pieces on a when they were on the fox, and now they're going to be flippers. So I'm just going to pick them up and stick them on like that. Okay, so there's my little froggy's body, and now I'm going to do his eyes because he needs to be able to see. So he's got orange eyes that are surrounded by green. So I'm going to take the this is a 1/2 inch circle punch, and I'm just trying to decide whether they need to be light green or dark green. I think I'm going to go with the dark green here to bring it kind of in line with the rest of his body. And I've got a little bit of adhesive here and here, and I'm going to stick those into place. And now he's starting to look like a frog, isn't he? And the pumpkin pie, and this is a 3/8 of an inch circle. So 1, 2, and again a little spot of adhesive, and pick up the circles. Come on, my darling, up you come. There you go. And last of all, my basic black, which has already got the adhesive film on the back. So I just need to punch out 2 little basic black circles. Take the film off the back, and come on, then fight with the last piece, as you do. Come on, there you go. Do you talk with to your paper when you're crafting as well, or is it just me? Okay, so it's nearly done. He just needs a mouth so that he can catch flies. This is the one of our journaling pens. A bit of gunk on there, let's get rid of that, don't need that. And I'm going to put a dot there and a dot there, and I'm going to just join them up. I've used the Duet Banner Punch on my piece of Whisper White, and I'm going to be using this piece. I'll keep the other one for another day. I've kept the negative and I've set up my Stamparatus. So I've got the sponge mat, I've got a bit of scrap grid paper which I'm holding down with one of the magnets, and I've taped the negative from the punch out down to the grid paper with a little bit of low tack tape, and I shall keep this in the Thoughtful Banners box for later use. So I've already set my stamps up on my plate, and I'm going to start by stamping the word hello. So I have garden green ink. I'm just making sure that that is sitting nicely in the into the negative. Ink that up with garden green, press down, and the word hello is stamped nice and clearly. Now on the other side of the Stamparatus plate, I've got the frame for that banner, which isn't 100% essential, but it does give it a nice little finished look. So, inking up the stamp, press it down, and that has stamped just the way I want it. After I finished putting the box together, I realised that actually I need something along these edges here to kind of stop the box from caving in when I don't want it to. So I went into the bin and I fished out the pieces that I cut off along those edges there. I literally went in the bin and fished them out, and I took my sand eraser to rub out the scribbly marks that I'd put there, and now I'm going to glue them inside my box. Okay, so this will strengthen the sides of the box, which is never a bad thing, and it will also hide the flaps, also never a bad thing, and it will mean that there's something there to stop the lid of the box from caving in. So I'm just going to press those into place, and I'm going to leave that for the glue to set while I work on the decoration, for want of a better word. Okay, so I cut out another little circle and I stuck it on my frog's tummy, and then I realised that actually that was a complete waste of time because I'm going to cover it with the banner. Yeah, so I could have thought that one out a little bit better. So am I going to put a dimensional underneath that? Or I'm going to pop him up on dimensionals, but I'm trying to decide whether or not to make that flat or to lift it up. I think I'm going to put that flat. Okay, so I'll put that dimensional back just for a second, and I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on his tummy and stick the banner, and I'm going to try and tuck it behind his little froggy feet here, his little flippers. Okay. And I cut out another two of the tail pieces in garden green, and I'm going to use those for like little hands. And I've now realised that all of that work I did putting his legs in place, I've just covered it up. So yeah, I didn't have to do that. But, you know, never mind. It's all a learning experience, isn't it? Alright, so I could have just stuck his little feet on there, and nobody would have been any the wiser. But I suppose if you're making the frog and you're not putting a banner on there, well then, you know, that would be another kind of look for him. Right, now I said dimensionals, didn't I? So let's have a couple of dimensionals onto the back of the frog, and we'll have a couple by the legs that you can't see, and they're sticking to my fingers. They're getting as cheeky as glue dots. If you watch this channel at all, you will know about my relationship with glue dots. We're not friends. However, dimensionals up till now have always been very well behaved. And today they're winding me up. This is a 2-inch circle of pumpkin pie. And we'll stick our cheeky little frog down onto that. And this is Granny Apple Green, punched out with the Starburst punch. And I've done this off screen because this is getting to be quite a long tutorial, largely because we spent a lot of time working out what size box we needed. So, you know, you can all punch out a bit of card, can't you? You don't need me to show you how to do that. And this is the 2 1/4 inch circle in garden green. And there is my little frog to go on to my box. And to finish it off, I've popped some dimensionals onto the back of my garden green 2-inch circle. Okay. And to finish it off, I've put some dimensionals onto the back of my And to finish it off, I've put some dimensionals on the back. I've already taken the backing off them, the protective sheet, and I'm just going to pop that down onto the lid of the box. And here is my little froggy wrapped up in bubble wrap. And I shall pop him inside, and here we go, moment of truth. Does it fit? Yes, it does. And there it is. That is the finished little froggy, and hope you've enjoyed this video. And if so, I'd be thrilled to bits if you gave it a thumbs up or even subscribe to my channel, because it really does help me out. But for now, thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you again sometime soon. Bye bye.